That might be hard.
Never.
Oh. So I'm just going to wait till my computer says 4:30 and then I'll start the meeting. I said, okay. So it's 4:30, so I'll call the Solid Waste Board of Dunn County to order. And I think, Morgan, can you take the roll?
Yep, we've got Terry Stam, we've got Chuck Maves, Gary Bjork, Ed Hartung, Zenon Smolarek, Tim Leno, Eve Rasmussen, Ryland Erdman, and Dave Bartlett and Keith Stry. And Mike Larson, transportation manager, is also on the call.
So I think we got 8 out of the 9. So which one are we missing?
Forrest Johnson.
Forrest, yeah.
Okay,
He'd be the only one missing.
he usually comes on. So has everybody had a chance to look at the minutes of the November 10th, 2020 meeting? And if so, would somebody like to make a motion to accept those minutes?
So moved.
Okay. We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of the November 10th meeting. Any corrections or additions or discussion?
Mr. Chairman, if I could just remind everybody to use their names when they're moving
Okay.
on anything for the purpose of those attending by phone.
Okay. So there's been a motion and a second to accept the meeting minutes of November 10th. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. The minutes are approved. And it should be a fairly short meeting, I think, Morgan, but we'll go right to your staff reports.
Just to clarify, Tim motioned and who seconded?
Was it you, Steve?
I believe it was.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. Thank you. Okay, should be a pretty short meeting, guys. So I did send out some supporting docs with the Zoom invite. The first item under staff reports, item 1, outreach for transfer station lease or sale opportunities. So I put an official letter out to interested parties. And basically I'm gonna put that letter up on the screen here. Give me 1 second. Everybody see this?
Yeah. There
Yep.
it is.
Okay, so basically what we wanted to do is we wanted to get an official, letter of inquiry or letter of interest for those parties that are looking into the possibility of a sale or a purchase or a lease. And I wanted to add just a couple of questions in there, which I did, and you'll see those right here, question 1 and 2, just to kind of give them a framework as to how to approach the letter of inquiry and answer a few questions that I think you'll gain some benefit for when we take a look at these next month. Those questions here, and I'll just read through them. So it says, what are the primary reasons for your interest in acquiring a lease for or purchasing the Dunn County Transfer Station? What types of operations or services would you intend to offer, and to which constituents would these services be available? Please indicate all commodities that you would propose to receive and or process, including items such as municipal and or industrial trash, mandated and or non-mandated recyclables, hazardous waste, and any other specific materials. Question 2, please explain in detail how your proposed operations would continue to support the excellent environmental stewardship principles that have been achieved in Dunn County as a result of the county's solid waste and recycling programs and services, and your cooperation and engagement in these programs. And I ran this through the county manager. We both thought that this would be a good framework for them to, to produce when they submit their letter of inquiry. I set a deadline of December 31, 2020. I've had several of the interested parties ask me for additional time in allowing them to get, a nice detailed letter to all of you. So set the deadline for December 31st. Those letters of inquiry will be coming to me. I'll be sharing them with you all on January 5th, our next board meeting scheduled for that Tuesday. So.
Morgan,
Yep.
under this same topic, could you read that one public comment? I should have brought that up before, but that might be like relevant to that letter.
Yes, we did have one written public comment, and I'll read through that. It's from Clara Resch. She's with Menominee Disposal, and Clara says, I just wanted to get out our plans to board members and county supervisors so that a decision could be made with all knowledge available. Obviously, the facility is of great interest to MDS. We want to be able to provide a drop-off location to residents for any non-landfill items to ensure the stewardship of Dunn County and do our part to help keep our ditches clean. We are working with the DNR and Dynamic Solutions and have become an e-cycle collector so that we are eligible to collect and properly dispose of and handle electronics, batteries, bulbs, and appliances. We also have outlets for tires, bulk items, and have even been in contact with a provider for household hazardous waste. Where MDS is limited is with our current facilities. We are not set up for public drop-off. We do offer curbside collection of materials, but at an added cost to cover our expenses and time to collect the materials. With a drop-off facility, we could offer a discounted fee to residents to bring these materials to us to properly dispose of them. MDS would be willing to accept any type of materials that we have an outlet for. These services would be fee-based to cover our costs, but we strongly feel that if we can offer reasonable rates and can maintain the excellent stewardship that Dunn County currently has in regards to waste and recycled disposal, MDS would like to be strongly considered in the leasing, renting, or purchase of the facility in the future. Thanks for taking the time.
Morgan?
Yep.
Steve? Was that attached to the invite here, or is that something that you just have on your desk?
No, that was sent
Have
to,
we seen it?
it was sent to Krista Vinn, I think on Monday of this week, right, Krista?
I believe it was sent last week and it was sent to our public comments email.
Yeah, they don't come
Okay.
directly, Steve, they come to the public comment email, and I think IT manages that, right, Krista?
Can you
Yeah.
pass it on to us in written form?
Yeah, I can just forward
Thank
the,
you.
yep.
Yeah.
Morgan, Ed here. Back to the top of that letter, they said they would accept electronics.
Yeah, e-waste.
It says that that's one of the items that they would be looking at, yeah.
Okay, tires too, right? Yeah.
I don't see, oh yeah, it says they have an outlet for tires.
Okay, and bulbs. 'Cause we were Menominee, we were wondering where we're gonna send bulbs to. So, yeah, so I think bulbs in there too. So they're working on that, right?
It says bulbs, but I'm sure they meant bulbs.
Bulbs, okay, all right.
That would be open to anybody in Dunn County if that went through, right, Morgan?
They don't
No?
indicate that in their text.
Okay. So it might be just their own customers.
Yeah, they don't indicate that in their text.
Okay.
Okay, any questions on that? So the letters of inquiry will be due December 31. We'll review all of those at the January 5 Solid Waste Recycling Board meeting. And I think reading through those then will help give you guys some direction on, you know, what might be the best approach, either a lease, a sale, rent, whatever, and to whom. So
And you will forward those to us as you get them?
I can't, I'd rather just send them in one bulk the week of January 1, if that's okay, but I can send them as I get them if you'd like. Whatever you prefer, Steve.
Well, just before the meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I wonder too, Morgan, if it'd be a good idea, like to send it out, because if they put a purchase price in there too early, that'd give the competition of what to bid on. Is that
Well,
possible?
I have not encouraged them to add any offers for purchase, because what needs to happen here is we're going to be going out for an assessment
Okay.
of the property. We're going to hire an assessor, professional assessor, to give value there. And I'm sure any potential purchasers will, if they're doing their due diligence, they'll do the same. You know,
Okay,
and compare their assessment to whatever the county's assessment is. Now, it's going to take a little bit of time to get the assessment done, obviously, and I'm reaching out to the same company that did the assessment for the government center at 800 Wilson Avenue when the highway hired them to work on the assessment for that building for the sale to the city of Menominee. So I'm hoping that they can do our property as well.
That Ellison? Ellison?
Right. Yeah, I have not.
Did they give you any kind of like your timeline, how long it'd be before they'd have that done, or?
I have not gotten in contact with them yet. I'm waiting
Okay.
for the highway to give me their contact information and a good name to talk to over there. As soon as I have it, though, I will ask for a timeline.
Okay.
Mhm.
Ryland,
How are we advertising this? How are we reaching out to or soliciting for people that might be interested in buying or renting the property?
I've simply sent letters to the haulers in the general area here and UW Stout, just those who have shown an interest. Now, there will be an official RFP process eventually, and at that point, obviously, we will have additional outreach so that more people are aware of that opportunity.
Have you talked to Advance? Have they, would they have any interest?
Advanced is now Waste Management, and I did talk with Mark Vinyl probably a month and a half ago or so before they had made the transition. Mark works exclusively for 7 Mile Creek Landfill and GFL right now. He's no longer with Advanced or Waste Management. Due to the
Who's
transition.
GFL?
They're called GFL is the company that purchased the 7 Mile Creek landfill. Green for Life is what that's an acronym for. So they took over all the landfill ownership and operations at 7 Mile Creek. Advanced Disposal is no more. They were bought out by Waste Management. So Waste Management is now the primary provider for all of our hauling of recycling and materials from collection sites. The transfer station hauling is also under GFL because that's going direct to the landfill. So I did talk with Mark.
When did that take effect?
It literally just buttoned up. Matter of fact, I've got the first invoices from GFL on my desk this past week. So the transition just happened. What's the date? It happened late November.
Okay.
So under item D, number 2, if that's okay to move on, Gary.
yes, it is, please.
All right, item D, number 2, equipment and infrastructure sales summary. I sent one of those out to you because I know at the last meeting you guys were asking a lot of questions and it got a little confusing there. So I included that in the outreach that I sent to you. I want to point out one error on that. On the very last page, when we talk about Sand Creek, I have an error in there. Sand Creek wants to purchase the 2 multi-compartmental recycling boxes that are at the site now, one for fiber and one for containers. I had on there the total purchase price $250. That's the individual price. So the total purchase price for the 2 boxes is $500. They're $250 each. And they've agreed to that. And I've worked on a purchasing agreement, worked in coordination with Keith and Nick from Corporation Counsel and the county CFO to get a good purchase agreement together that protects the county and protects the sales of that equipment. That should be finished up this week. I think they've all looked at the draft and have concurred with the language there. So site transitions, what I know so far, Sand Creek is going to be taking over their site next week on the 15th. So I will be over there to meet Mike Nelson, their board chair, to get that purchase agreement signed. They will take possession of the 2 recycling boxes at the site. And the shed that's at the site, they did not want the shed that we had constructed there. So Mike Larson is going to be removing that, I think, Friday of this week. And the site will return to municipal management under Sand Creek's RU. Downsville has chosen their first operation date, I think the 23rd. So our last day of operation at Downsville under county management will be December 17. And then we'll have 3 days after that to get our haulers in there and our resource recovery teams to clean everything out. I've contacted ABC Septic. They're pumping all of the outhouses at the collection site, so everybody gets a fresh fresh outhouse. They kick things off.
A fresh
Fresh.
flush.
A fresh flush. I don't know how fresh it's going to be, but Ridgeland, Rock Creek, Connorsville, Boyceville, Colfax, and Elk Mound all want us to run through the end of the year. So Ridgeland, the last day would be the 29th. Rock Creek would be the 31st. Transfer station will be open on the 31st. Public drop-offs last day of operation will be the 30th. Connorsville will be on the 29th, Boyceville the 26th, Colfax the 26th, and Elk Mound the 26th. Now I've been working. Oh, go ahead.
Morgan, could you talk to the board about the land at Ridgeland that, that kind of goes back to the previous owner, or explain that to the board?
Yeah, so originally.
We own that.
Well, originally when I checked into that original deed, yes, it appeared that we did own it. However, I had Tom Carlson dig a little deeper into the county's Laredo system. It turns out there's a second deed a year later after that land was, gifted to the county. That deed contained reversion language so that the land would go back to the original owner of the land, which is, I believe, the Moen family. And so I did confirm, yes, what had happened there was when that transaction originally occurred back in, I think it was 91, the agreement was to gift the land to the county, but with a reversion clause that the land would return to the gifter's ownership after if and when the county would cease operations. That language wasn't expressed until the deed, another deed was created the following year in 1992 that stated the reversion language. So I did confirm that the site will go back to the original owner after our operations cease on December 31. Now I've already talked to the landowner via email, and I said, we'll work out a timeline, first quarter 2021 to get all that equipment and infrastructure taken off the land. Or if he wants to maybe keep an outhouse there, that'd be great. Something else we don't have to remove, but I'll make sure that we get all the equipment and infrastructure off of that property.
Thank
And
you.
Ridgeland and Sheridan and those guys, they're not interested in that site?
Nope, that was one of the sites that was up for grabs, and the Ridgeland is, I believe, planning to continue curbside services through Republic Services up there, and I think Waterman also has some services up in that area. So they had no interest in operating a site in that area.
Oh. Dave, are you there? Bartlett?
Sorry, Steve, you were breaking
I
up.
didn't hear your question.
Oh, hi, Dave. So Sheridan is gonna, what is your plan?
We are going with New Haven and Tiffany at the Connorsville site for recycling. And we're going to try having a dumpster at our town hall one weekend a month for solid waste, and suggesting that our residents go with a private hauler.
Okay.
The transition at
So,
Connorsville is.
then Wilson and Ridgeland are together?
Wilson went with Colfax, I understand.
And Ridgeland's by themselves?
Right, but they've always been by themselves. Nothing's changing there.
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay, Morgan, we'll keep on D2.
Yep, I was just going to say that the transition at Connorsville is going to be kind of interesting. We've got Harry Warden from Rock Creek. They purchased the extra compactor and receiver box, and obviously taking the one out of the Connorsville site first makes the most sense to meet that purchase agreement, because Connorsville wants it gone and Rock Creek needs it sooner than later. So I know that Colfax, Elk Mound, and Rock Creek have already poured slabs and have buried electrical. So they're just waiting for their units. Colfax and Elk Mound purchased some compactor and receiver, extra compactor receiver box units elsewhere, I think possibly from Nedlands. And they're just waiting for a good time to install that equipment, weather permitting, and of course, working with us through the end of the year to make this transition as smooth as possible. So I've put Harry Warden in contact with Marv Prestrud up in Connorsville to try to figure out a good time to do the switcheroo. You know, clearly it's going to take a few days to dismantle and transport that stuff. And, you know, we want to minimize interruptions as much as we can, but there's going to be some major overlap here at the end of the year with the sites transitioning. So we'll work through it best.
How much is it going to cost, Morgan, to have these compactors and receiver boxes moved? Is that the total cost to Dunn County, or is that can be shared? Or is it's being sold as is, whereas?
The purchasing agreement states, and the letter that we sent out with the prices during the sealed bid process stated that any removal, transport, disassembly, installation, et cetera, is the responsibility of the buyer.
Oh, okay. That sounds good for the county's perspective.
And Morgan, it looks like the town of New Haven did purchase the stuff that you've got listed there for $1,600.
Yeah, I spoke with Marv yesterday, actually, and there was some discussion again about the original investments that were made at the time the site was created. And I know you know a little bit about that, Dave. But Marv agreed that he felt, as the county did, that most of that value has been amortized since that equipment was put in. And I asked him, I sent him an email, a reminder saying, hey, you know, you were the only site that opted to continue to run a site, but did not want to purchase a compactor. And I stated that for those municipalities that did purchase a compactor, we were throwing in all of the other site infrastructure and equipment at no additional cost. Well, since Connorsville did not want the compactor, I reminded Marv that you know, we would request that they pay the base rate that was submitted in the price structure that was submitted weeks before the bid was due. And I asked him to review that. And if there was anything at the site that he did not want to purchase at that base rate, to let me know as soon as possible. I'll make sure it's hauled out of there at the end of the year. So he agreed to do that, and he's going to get back to me shortly.
So he's considering buying this stuff on the list, though.
Yes, that is what we assume he's going to buy based on the short conversation we had. I don't think he wants the recycling boxes. I think those will definitely come out. I'm just not sure about the other equipment. He was going to look into that with his constituents still.
Okay, so we'll be able to leave the outhouse there then, which is an expense for us to move it.
There is no outhouse in Connorsville.
Oh,
There's
okay.
just a porta potty there. That's one of the sites that we never installed an outhouse at. So the porta potty will be leaving.
Okay.
Any other questions for the board?
Yeah, Ed here. What's the last day you're going to be open at the transfer station for garbage and recycling? Is it the 30th?
Well, for garbage and recycling, the 30th, yes.
The 30th. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
Any other word, Morgan, on the equipment and infrastructure, or is that it right there?
That's it in a nutshell. Like I said, there has been some additional interest. I've been talking with Terry last week. There's a possibility that they may be interested in one of the receiver box from Ridgeland, perhaps as a floater box. Colfax purchased our one floater that we did have, but I think we would consider selling just the receiver box off the Ridgeland unit, since there was no other interest in it, and that would allow Elk Mound to have a floater as well, which is a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they may have some interest in the shed out there as well, but we'll see. Yeah, all of the equipment at Ridgeland is up for grabs at this time.
Okay,
So Ridgeland is not purchasing the compactor.
No, Ridgeland
The
is
compactor is, The compactor there at that site is not spoken for.
Correct. That one's up for grabs.
What you want for that, Morgan?
15.
15,000.
Compactor
Yep.
and receiver box. Yep.
Okay, and that's 3-phase, I take it, right?
Nope. They come plumb
Okay.
standard for 3-phase. We don't have any 3-phase at sites. So those have
So
all been converted to single phase power.
Single phase, okay,
Yeah.
15,000. Single phase, all right, thank you.
Okay, did everybody get a chance to look at the future, like meeting dates? Although I'm sure there's some that we won't need to have, but did everybody get a list of the dates? And
Looks good to me.
Are there
I
any major conflicts, like especially with the first few meetings? I'm sure we're going to have, but as we go on later on, I'm sure like, some can be postponed and just get an update from Morgan instead of having a full blown meeting. But that first one in January looks awfully important.
Yeah, and I reached out to Paul Miller on this too, and I said, it's probably really only feasible to put 6 months worth of meetings on this list. But he encouraged me to put the full year. And like you said, we can decide as a group when having a meeting is appropriate as we move into some of the, past the first quarter of next year.
So would it be a motion to accept those meeting dates as presented?
I'll move. Ed here.
Is there a second?
I'll second it. Terry here.
Okay, Ed made a motion and Terry seconded. Are there any comments on that motion? If not, all in favor of the new meeting dates for 2021, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion is carried then. So any other comments or concerns from the board? If not, we're at the end of the agenda.
Yeah, just a quick thing, Gary, I should have mentioned it before there, but again, I had mentioned it briefly to Morgan before, but there is more interest maybe from the Colfax RU and us than on those recycling boxes, the cardboard and the other item
Okay,
recycling boxes. So if the county is willing to sell, if there's some left over, we don't want to be greedy, but if there's some left over, we might be interested in purchasing them for an agreed upon price.
I think Morgan would be the one to talk to it because he has kind of a good handle of what's sold and what's spoken for. So.
Yeah, we're
it'd be
looking maybe
first-
for additional storage, Gary, is what we're looking for,
Yeah.
at the two sites. So I'll definitely keep in touch with Morgan. He's been getting back to us quite regularly on things.
Okay. So any other comments? If not, I hope you all have a good holiday. And our next meeting will be January 5th, 2021. So if there's no other comments, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you for